Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Distilled Brewed and Reviewed. My name is John. This is the world famous Sipping Den. Do you know on this channel I do everything that has anything to do with alcohol and coffee? It's quite unique, really. And I challenge you to check out my playlists because you're going to be amazed. I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed. And today we are doing something that has something to do with alcohol. Very unique. I'll try and do this while you can still get it. Scout and Scholar Brewing Company, which is in Bardstown, Kentucky. Give Me A Rye-It is the name of the beer. Okay. And it is an Imperial Belgian Blonde, aged in high rye whiskey barrels. It is 10.5% alcohol by volume, 21 IBUs. It's all on the label right here. Look at this. Evan Williams, what's it say? It says, in collaboration with Evan Williams Bourbon Experience, Louisville, Kentucky. So Evan Williams Bourbon Experience is in Louisville, Kentucky on Main Street, between 6th and 5th Streets. And let me see here. Look at that. This is a 750 milliliter. $18.99. That's a deal, man. And it says this: aged in square 6 high rye whiskey barrels. Okay. So when they were releasing this, the day before they released it, that night, they were going to release the next day, I went. They had an event. Gave away this cool glass, by the way. Well, it's hard to see, perhaps. I'll show you when it's full. Evan Williams Bourbon Experience on one side, and then the distillery on the other. So they had the master distiller from Evan Williams and the master brewer from the brewery. And they were talking about the beer. I wrote down some notes, so I'll read it. But let's read what's on the back here because it's very interesting. You're going to love this. Square 6 by Evan Williams, high rye whiskey. The reason they call it high rye, it's not because the rye is so high. Because most MGP is 95% rye. I've had 100% rye. This is like 68% rye. But for Heaven Hill, which owns Evan Williams, and they do the Rittenhouse and some other ryes, Pikesville and so on, this is a higher rye. So they call it high rye. Square 6 by Evan Williams, high rye whiskey, is produced exclusively at the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience artisanal distillery. Okay, so if you go to, so they call it Square 6 because Square 6 is the piece of property that was actually owned by Evan Williams. He had his house and his distillery on that property. What's there now is the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience. And they have a little still downstairs that makes 1 barrel of whiskey a day, and they make a barrel 5 days a week, different stuff. One of it is this Square 6. They call what they make down there, some of the stuff they make down Square 6, because that was Evan Williams' property. That's how they divided it up, and that's what they called it back in 1700s. So it is, and anything from there, or made on that distillery, is just sold at that distillery, at that one place in Louisville. Distiller Jody Filatro, cool dude, by the way, he really is. And head brewer Lee Northcutt, who I just met that night. Seems like a cool guy as well. Head brewer worked together to come up with a beer that is truly unique and aged in these exclusive Square 6 barrels. The aroma boasts, well, we'll get into our aroma thing. And then they have their signatures down here. Let me see. What did I put down here? Oh. So Jody was saying they don't flush out the barrels. So this is not only freshly emptied, they don't flush it out with water. So there's going to be a lot of influence. And then the head brewer said it raised the ABVs about 1 to 2%, putting it in that whiskey barrel like that. So let's get into it. The reason I said at the brewery right now, on this brewery in Bardstown, I'm sure they probably have a lot because they just released this. But the distillery now already is down to like 20-something bottles. So probably be out by next Monday. Okay, I'm going to release this tomorrow, which is Tuesday when you're going to see this, and then the following Monday it'll probably be out at Evan Williams. But if you live near Evan Williams or near Louisville, you can come down to the distillery and get it, or you can go to the brewery, call them up, see if they still have it. If it's good, which I already know. They let us taste it that night. They let us taste the rye whiskey and the beer, and then I bought 2 of these. I drank one already, and I'm going to review the second one for you, and then it's probably going to be gone. You can age this for a while, but you want to see it, don't you? Should be smoke. Last time I opened that thing, smoke poured out of it. Oh, it was finished in that barrel, by the way, for 8 months. Okay, after he made this, they put it in that freshly dumped, non-flushed rye barrel for 8 months. All right. This is a blonde ale with Belgian yeast. Now, you might say, blonde ale, it looks dark. Yeah, well, it was sitting in that barrel. So, yes, it's dark. All right, there it is. Beautiful looking. And now you can see, I guess you can see. It's still hard to see, isn't it? But anyway, cool Evan Williams on one side, Scout and Scholar Brewery on the other. Love the glass. Oh, okay, listen. It really, wow. You can smell the wood. You can smell vanilla. You could smell the rye whiskey. It's sweet smell, actually. It smells more like a bourbon. It's very sweet. Spicy from the rye. I think the Belgian yeast smells really good. And the rye is aged, by the way, in that barrel for 6.5 years. So 6.5 years the rye was in there. That's an acclamation sip. Yeah, there's no denying that this was in a barrel for a freshly dumped, non-washed whiskey barrel for 8 months. None. Tasting caramel, that whiskey influence, that spiciness from that rye and that Belgian yeast. It's got a fig, a vanilla. There's a caramel sweetness to it. Vanilla, caramel, fig. Vanilla and spice. It's really good. If you can get to one of these places and get this, I kind of suggest, especially for under $20, for $7.50. I've seen these type of beers go for a lot more and not taste as good. And then I'm getting some bitterness, which I love because I got to bounce out that sweetness. Now, rye generally isn't necessarily sweet like bourbon is because the rye spices it, but this one tastes sweet. It does. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it. They have done an excellent job. Now, I'm not too familiar with this brewery. I am going to go to this brewery next time in Bardstown. I go all the time. I'm doing stuff with the bourbon. And I'm going to stop in here. Of course, now I met the guy. But Jody, the master distiller for Evan Williams, I know him a little better. And he's been with Evan Williams, for over 40 years. He's a heck of a guy. He's cool. And he's experimenting now at Evan Williams because they just make a barrel a day, so you can really experiment down there. And he's doing a fantastic job. The guy is just cool. So shout out to both of them. You did another fantastic job. They've had other beers. I've never had them before. This is the first one I'm having with this collaboration. Got to be careful. It's 10.5. I can slow down, right? It's just good. It's really good. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I'm going to relax. Today's my day off. I'm just going to sip this beer slowly. I can't really recap it. But my son's here. I'm going to see if he wants some. All right? I'm going to try and get him to have a glass so I don't have to have the whole thing. Otherwise, I'm going to have the whole thing. Poor me. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, right? If you can comment, thumbs up, tell people about the channel, right? Everything helps the analytics. Yeah. All right. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next one. If you can get this beer, get your hands on it. It's really good.